The palace of Aelyra did not simply stand, it hovered. Suspended above a luminous ocean of liquid crystal, the royal structure shimmered like a living constellation. Its towers curved upward in impossible geometries, catching the light of 3 distant suns and refracting it into cascading waves of color that danced across the sky. To the people of Aelyra, it was a symbol of perfection. To outsiders, it was something else entirely. Untouchable. At the heart of the palace, within a chamber shaped from translucent stone that pulsed faintly with energy, Princess Seralyth stood before a wide viewing aperture, her gaze fixed on the stars beyond. She had been there for hours, watching, waiting. "Your Highness," a voice called gently from behind her. Seralyth did not turn. "Yes, Lyran?" Her attendant approached quietly, careful not to disturb the delicate silence that often surrounded the princess. "The delegation has arrived. The selection ceremony will begin shortly." Seralyth's fingers tightened slightly at her sides. "I know," she said. Lyran hesitated. "You are not prepared?" Seralyth let out a slow breath. "Prepared for what, exactly?" "For choosing your consort," Lyran replied. Seralyth finally turned. Her eyes, iridescent, shifting subtly between shades of violet and silver, held a depth that made even her closest attendants uneasy at times. "I have met every candidate," she said. "Studied their histories, their capabilities, their genetic profiles. And yet, Seralyth continued, "I feel nothing." Lyran lowered her gaze. "That is not uncommon, Your Highness. Affection can grow over time." Seralyth shook her head slightly. "This is not about affection." "Then what is it about?" Seralyth looked back toward the stars. "It is about truth," she said quietly. "And none of them feel true." The selection ceremony was one of the oldest traditions of Aelyra. 4 generations, the royal line had maintained its strength through carefully chosen unions, pairings designed to enhance their already advanced biology, ensuring the continuation of their near-perfect species. Every candidate had been evaluated, every outcome predicted. There was no room for error. The grand hall was filled with light and sound, a symphony of elegance and precision. Representatives from across allied systems had gathered, their presence a testament to the importance of the event. At the center stood Queen Aelyra. She was everything a ruler of Aelyra was expected to be, composed, powerful, and utterly unyielding. Her presence alone commanded silence, her gaze capable of reducing even the most confident beings to quiet submission. As Seralyth entered the hall, all eyes turned to her. She moved with grace, her form almost weightless as she descended the central platform. Queen Aelyra watched her closely. "You are late," the queen said, her voice calm but firm. "Only slightly," Seralyth replied. "This is not a matter for imprecision." Seralyth inclined her head. "Of course, mother." The queen studied her for a moment longer, then gestured toward the assembled candidates. "Then let us proceed." One by one, the candidates stepped forward. Each was exceptional. Warriors with unmatched physical capabilities. Scholars with intellects that rivaled entire research collectives. Leaders who commanded fleets and shaped worlds. And yet, as Seralyth looked at them, she felt the same emptiness. Nothing. No connection. No spark. Only expectation. After the final candidate had spoken, the hall fell silent. Queen Aelyra turned to her daughter. "The choice is yours," she said. Seralyth took a step forward. Her gaze moved across the room. Across the faces of those who expected to be chosen. Across the future that had already been decided for her. And then, she stopped. Her eyes fixed on something beyond the gathered crowd. Beyond the candidates. At the far edge of the hall, Near the entrance where station personnel and attendants stood, there was a human. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't part of the ceremony. He wasn't even dressed for it. Simple clothing, slightly worn. A neutral expression that suggested he was far more interested in not being noticed than in whatever was happening around him. He stood apart, unaffected, real. Seralyth's heart, something that rarely reacted, shifted.
There.
That feeling. Unexpected. Uncalculated.
True.
Without hesitation, she raised her hand and pointed. I choose him. The hall erupted.
Gasps.
Whispers. Outright disbelief. Queen Aelyra did not react immediately. But when she did, it was with terrifying precision.
Explain, she said.
Seralyth did not look away from the human. Because he is the only one who does not belong here, she said. And yet, he stands without pretending otherwise. The queen's gaze followed her daughter's, landed on the human, and for the first time in decades, Queen Aelyra felt something close to shock. His name was Adrian Cole, and he had no idea what he had just been dragged into. This is a mistake, he said for what felt like the 10th time. 2 royal guards escorted him through the palace corridors, their expressions unreadable. I'm just a systems technician, Adrian continued. I was fixing a relay in the outer ring. Someone told me to wait in the hall. That's it. You have been chosen, one of the guards said. Yeah, I heard that part, Adrian replied. I'm saying it's wrong. That is not for you to decide. Adrian let out a breath. Great. They reached a set of towering doors that opened silently as they approached. Inside, Queen Aelyra stood alone. Adrian swallowed. Every instinct told him he was in way over his head. Approach, the queen commanded. He stepped forward. Carefully. Your Majesty, he said, doing his best approximation of a respectful nod. The queen studied him. Not just his appearance, but something deeper. His posture, his breathing, the subtle signals that revealed who and what he was. Human, she said. Yes. Explain your presence. I was repairing a relay, Adrian said. I got told to wait. Next thing I know, I'm being pointed at by your daughter in front of everyone. Silence. The queen turned slightly. Seralyth, she said. The princess stepped forward from the shadows. Adrian hadn't noticed her there, which, given the situation, was concerning. You made your choice, the queen continued. Now justify it. Seralyth met her mother's gaze. He is not like the others. That is obvious. He does not seek power, Seralyth said. He does not perform for approval. He simply exists as he is. The queen's expression remained unchanged. That is hardly a qualification for royal union. It is a qualification for truth, Seralyth replied. The room fell silent. Adrian looked between them. Okay, he said, raising a hand slightly. I feel like I should say something here. Neither of them acknowledged him. Cool, he muttered. Finally, the queen spoke again. You understand the consequences of this choice? She asked her daughter. I do. You would bind the future of our line to an unknown variable. Yes. The queen's gaze hardened. And if he is found lacking? Seralyth didn't hesitate. Then that is my responsibility. Another silence. Longer this time. Heavier. Then, very well, Queen Aelyra said. Adrian blinked. Wait, what? The decision stands, the queen continued. For now. For now, Adrian repeated. You will be evaluated, she said, her eyes locking onto his. Tested. Observed. Adrian sighed. Of course I will. If you fail, the queen added, this ends. And if I pass. The queen's expression did not change. Then you become part of something far greater than yourself. Adrian rubbed the back of his neck. No pressure. The days that followed were complicated. Adrian was given quarters within the palace, far more luxurious than anything he had ever experienced. He was assigned tutors, analysts, observers. Every aspect of his being was examined. His physical capabilities, his cognitive functions, his psychological profile. It was exhausting. And through it all, Seralyth remained present. She observed him as much as the others did, but differently. Not as a subject, as a question. One evening, as Adrian sat on a balcony overlooking the glowing ocean below, she joined him. "You are adapting," she said. "Is that what this is?" he replied. "Feels more like surviving." She tilted her head slightly. "Is there a difference?" "Yeah," he said. "One implies I have a choice." She considered that. "You always have a choice." Adrian laughed softly. "That's easy to say when you're the one making them." Seralyth sat beside him. "I did not choose you lightly," she said. "I figured," he replied. "Still don't know why you chose me at all." "I told you." "Yeah," he said. "You said I was real." "That's not exactly a measurable trait." "Not everything important can be measured," she said. Adrian looked at her. For a moment, he saw something beyond the title, beyond the expectation. Just her. "And what happens if I don't pass your tests?" he asked. Seralyth was quiet for a moment. "Then you leave," she said. "And you?" "I continue as expected." Adrian nodded slowly. "Doesn't sound like much of a choice." "No," she admitted. "It does not." The final test came sooner than expected. A crisis. A real one. Aelyra's outer defenses had detected an incoming fleet, unidentified, hostile, and moving fast. The palace shifted from ceremony to war in an instant. Queen Aelyra took command, her voice cutting through the chaos with absolute authority. Defensive positions. All systems online. Adrian stood at the edge of the command chamber, watching. This was beyond anything he had trained for. But something felt off. The readings. The patterns. He stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said. The Queen did not look at him. "Not now." "The fleet," he continued. "Their approach pattern, it's wrong." That got her attention. She turned. "Explain." Adrian moved to the console. "They're not attacking," he said. "They're hurting." "Toward what?" He brought up a projection. The trajectory lines converged. "On the palace." "They're forcing us into a defensive posture," Adrian said. "Drawing power into the shields. And if I'm right," he continued, "they're planning to overload them." The room went silent. "That is unlikely," one of the advisors said. Adrian shook his head. "No, it's smart. You rely on your shields. You'll push them to maximum output. Then boom." Queen Aelyra studied the data. Then made a decision. "Reduce shield output by 20%. "Your Majesty," an advisor began. "Do it." The order was executed. Moments later, the enemy fleet adjusted. Just as Adrian had predicted. "They're reacting," he said. "They expected full output." "Can you counter it?" the Queen asked. Adrian hesitated, then nodded. "I think so." "Then do it." He moved quickly, rerouting systems, adjusting frequencies, creating a feedback loop that disrupted the enemy's targeting systems. The fleet faltered, then retreated. The threat was over. Silence filled the chamber. All eyes turned to Adrian. Queen Aelyra stepped forward. "You saw what none of us did," she said. Adrian shrugged. "Different perspective." The Queen studied him. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Perhaps," she said, "that is precisely what we needed." Seralyth smiled. And for the first time since the ceremony, everything felt right. Days later, as the palace returned to its quiet, luminous state, Adrian stood once more on the balcony. Seralyth joined him. "You passed," she said. "Guess I did." He looked at her. So, what now? Seralyth gazed out at the stars. Now, she said, we build something new. Adrian smiled faintly. Together? She met his eyes. Together. And somewhere beyond the glowing skies of Aelyra, the future shifted. Not because it was planned, but because, for once, it wasn't.